Hey everybody, welcome to this week's live stream. I hope you're hearing me well. I got the new streaming computer and everything set up, so before we even begin, let me know if there's any issues with audio, video, whatever. I don't know, whatever else. Most of this stuff is all kind of set up the same for the most part, but first time doing it. I have done some tests, but you just never know. So I'm going to turn off a couple things here. So before we begin, I'm going to go through all my different cameras just to make sure that they're all working for you guys. So you saw the splash screen. Here's the intro cam. Here's the casting view. I'm going to turn off some of this stuff. So this is the overhead. Here's the turning camera. That's looking pretty good. Seems like. Turn that off. Here's a dual cam. I was just kind of playing with stuff, so it's not a big deal. But anyway, so let's go back to this camera. So let me know if there's anything. Yeah, I have a different mic also, so I'm hoping that it's maybe a little bit louder, so you don't have to crank your I don't know. It's not like I go back and watch a lot of my streams. I do watch some of them, but I don't know. I just increased the volume a little bit, and I think this mic is a little bit better. The problem was I wanted to use these. This is the DJI mics. I wanted to use these originally, but they wouldn't connect to my that other computer. So I was like, okay. And the other one that I was using was fine. Eventually what I want to do is I want to get a mic, a lavalier mic, similar to how I was set up before. The problem is these things, these little receiver guys, they don't really work as well with some of the lavalier mic input plug things. So anyway, the intro cam is better. Oh wow. I am using different software. It's all the same cameras and everything. The one thing is the casting. I might need to go in and play around with my settings because it's kind of, I don't know what. It's not really right. I might have brightened it a lot or something. I don't know. And then the turning cam, that's actually looking really good. I'm kind of surprised. And I don't think it's not blown out or anything either. So hello. All right, cool. So it looks like we're doing good. Now, let me know if anything goes wonky halfway through. To be honest, I think that this new computer, all I'm using is just like the base model Mac Mini. And it seems to be doing extremely well. Like it's barely using any CPU for anything, and I'm not doing anything different. Gene can't hear. I think everybody else can hear. Was there? Yeah, it's working here. Casting view should be working. Dual cams. I think everything's working, Gene. I'm going to type because I don't think Gene can hear me. Oh, okay. Oops. Oopsies. Typing. I got a weird keyboard also. I'm using the the Apple keyboard, and I hate it. It's terrible. Okay, so Gene's good. Okay, so it sounds like everything's good. Also, let me know if my voice clips, if something goes weird or something like that. I don't know. Let me know if anything goes weird. Like I said, the longer that you stream also, sometimes things can be weird. So anyway, so let's go to the overhead. So last week we cast money, shredded money, and we added a little bit of gold flake in there. And we kind of ran into some issues because the first thing that I tried was just going with my Gatling mold. And I really think that you're going to have a tough time trying to fit it into a 3/4 inch tube. I don't know. I actually want to do a little bit more testing. So what I did, the problem with this setup with the mic is if I turn down here, it gets really loud, and if I bend over, it hangs out. So that's why I don't really like doing this. I'd rather have a lavalier mic because it just kind of stays put. The problem with lav mics is you're putting it under your chin, so that sucks too. there's just no great solution. But anyway, so then I tried this. I have these 7/8 inch cavity molds. That worked better, but it still seemed a little bit wonky. So then we switched to, I think I just poured it into a Jake blank mold. We went with, it was one of these, I don't know, I'm not sure exactly which one. So kind of just you know, dumping it into a trough kind of thing, and that worked kind of the best. Now, I want to go back and explain a couple things. I had a couple thoughts about the process. Number one, you really want to kind of pack the money down in there as well as possible, and that was where some of the issues came with the vertical pours. However, I think there might be a way to fix the issue with vertical, because frankly, I've been saying it for, you know, a couple of years now. It's much better to pour vertically if you can. You have less waste. It's easier to cut, you know, on a table saw or whatever, and you've already got a round blank ready to go. And it's also kind of better for bespoke pens. It's not a huge deal. A lot of the bespoke people will just turn a square blank round, but if you don't have a metal lathe, then you have to do it by hand, and it's just not as fun. I mean, it's much better if you can just start with a round blank. So I've been trying to convert as many things as, you know, physically possible to vertical. Now, what I was thinking is, either way, you really want to pack the money down, even if you've just got a big trough or singles. You really want to try to kind of push some of the money down in there as much as possible and pack it in. Now, I'm not going to lie, the best way to make shredded money blanks is to absolutely load up your resin with shredded money. I mean, like a 1-to-1 ratio. So if you have this much liquid resin in your cup, you want to add as much shredded money. That's kind of one of the better ways to do this, is to just absolutely load it up. And then frankly, you know, like a lot of people will actually compress it, put like a lid, or, you know, what do I have? I have one of these things. So you would take something else and actually literally compress it, and that's how, you know, you do your micartas and things like that. A lot of times you want to actually compress that material and resin down in. That's going to give you the best shredded money blank. It's a complete mess, and it's a pain in the butt. And I don't know that it's really that worth. It ain't worth it for me, obviously, because I didn't do it. It just makes things a little bit more complicated, and frankly, I would rather have a few little gaps in the blank and just use a painted tube or paint the inside of the blank. I think that typically it just goes fine, and I've been doing it this way for a while, and nobody's complained. Now, I'm going to go to the overhead view, and I'm going to show you. So here was the first round. This is what we did on the stream, I think. I don't know how I feel like we're missing blanks or something, but I don't know. Anyway, here's, I think, what we did on the stream. And some of these have, I don't know if you guys can see it. You know, there's, let me get my hand out of the way. There's some clear areas in these blanks, okay? And the thing is, even with these, with the square ones, which seem to work a little better, they're a little bit more packed, but there are definitely areas where there's going to be some like clear spots in these as well. So what I was thinking is, I went back, I did make one more batch of square ones, because these are going to be going into the Pen Blank Club boxes. And for anybody that doesn't know what that is, that's a monthly subscription. You get the, you know, mostly it's going to be the blanks that we make on the stream. You get 2 pen blanks in that's in the Pen Blank Club. But what I wanted to try, and I did another batch of rounds, and the idea that I had was to try to pack down, like pour a little bit in here, and then like pack down the money, and then pour a little bit more, pack it down. And what did I use? I used a pen blank, actually. But I think what I need to do, it worked okay. I think it helped, but I was using one of these guys. It was just kind of a little bit smaller, and I would just kind of pack it down. But I think what you need to do is use something, and the problem is I don't have something like this in the shop. But I do want to try to explain visually kind of what I'm talking about. So if you had like a piece of like screen or mesh, I do have some, I don't know if I can get to it. I don't know what size it is. Like you need like the perfect thing. I think this is something that I want to 3D print, but I'm gonna also have to model it and all that. Oh, actually this is good right here. This is good stuff. Okay, so this is what I was talking about, and I might actually try and make something out of this. So if you could mount something like this, and this is too floppy, I think, again, this is why I think like something maybe 3D printed would be really a good idea, but make it round and then attach like a handle to it. And then you can just push the stuff down, but the resin will flow up through this screen. The problem with this is it was all just kind of flopping around, and you're creating like kind of pressures and stuff, and everything just kind of moves around, and it's harder to get the bottom of this thing packed in. This is the bottom of the blank. Well, those are the originals. Here's the bottom of the blank, and there's more gaps on the bottom, but on the top it's super packed. All right. So I think that there's a way to do this, is the whole point. I think you can figure out a way, if you can compress that like pack that money down in while you're pouring it in, I think it might work. And there might even be other ideas that I just can't even think of off the top of my head. But you want to try to pack as much of that shredded money down into the mold. It doesn't matter which kind of mold it is really, and really get it filled up. So the game is you need to have enough shredded money, but I think that it becomes a little bit more difficult if you like oversaturate your resin with money, because it's definitely not gonna pour into something like this very easily. And again, going back to it, if this is something that you really want to get into and make, and you really want to go for perfection, I think that your best bet is to go with a block mold like this. And like I said, really load up the shredded money in it, and then try and kind of really compress it, and actually literally put something over it to compress the whole mixture. You're probably going to spill resin all over the place, and it's going to be a complete pain. That'll give you the most compressed and packed in there dense shredded money in your blanks. So I had kind of forgotten about some of these things. I knew about them before, and then I kind of switched the way that I did it, and then we were doing it on the stream, and I'm like, this isn't exactly working the way that I remember. So I wanted to kind of share those little tips, I guess. The price of being a YouTube star. Number pad. Yeah, well, you know what? Actually, the best one that I found is it's a Logitech. Oh, I don't know. It's one of the Logitech ones, and it's fabulous. I love it. The reason that I bought this is I actually have a Mac Studio in my office. I like the Apple, the finger touch button to open. It sounds really stupid, but I like the Touch ID, so I can just turn the computer on without having to type in a password. But this thing, I mean, it's a wafer, and it's not even going to work the way that I have things set up over here. It's just not great. In fact, I need to move the way that I'm doing this, because it's just a weird. I don't know how people use these things. Anyway, so shredded money. Now, what I decided to do is we're going to test this out, a round one, because I want to see how this works out in kind of reality. Because I can talk all day about, just kind of paint the inside of the blank and do all this stuff. So we're going for the simplest cover-up method. I didn't paint the inside of the blanks. All I did was, we have two different, these are Sierra or Monarch, Wall Street, Gatsby size pens. We're going to make two of them, turn them down. All I did was, on one of them, I've got a nickel-plated tube. Let me go grab some examples to show you guys what I'm talking about here. That's the wrong drawer. Monarch. Oh, that doesn't have a zippy. Okay, well, I don't really want to open that. I'll just pull one of these out. So we've got let me go over to this, turn it to this one. So nickel plated is basically, it looks chrome. So I decided to go with that. These are great if you want a lot of light reflection. This will keep everything bright in your blank. All right, so if you can find these, it's kind of hard. There's like, you can find them for Sierras, cigars, and juniors generally, maybe a couple others. So this is another reason why, you know, I tend to go with those three, because you can get pre-made tubes very easily for them also. And then the other one, I went with just a black tube. This isn't the right size, but I just wanted to show you. This is the powder-coated ones that I get from Turner's Warehouse. I love these things because, you know, many of the painted tubes that you're going to use, most of the time you're going for black or white. I mean, that's what most people do on many of the blanks. If you're going to paint a tube, that is, I would say, 80 to 90% of the time, that's all that you really need to do is go with black or white. Black is going to darken things up a little bit. White is going to keep it a little bit more bright. And so if you're trying to cover up a tube and you've got lighter colors, typically I'll just go for a white. If I've got darker colors, I'll go for black. Sometimes you choose black or white in other, you know, for other reasons, but that's typically how I choose. And so I use black and white most of the time. Nickel's a good idea, but again, it's very limited. And then you can paint your own tubes. You know, for any tube, you can paint with just spray paint. I think another good choice for these, and I didn't have any on hand, is, you know, just spray paint the tube green, probably a darker green. That would be a good choice for this kind of thing, but I didn't have that, and I didn't really want to just go out and buy a can of spray paint for 2 Sierra pens, you know. So we're going to turn those two up. We're going to see if these are good enough. You know, I think they're going to be fine. Personally, I like the black, and I think this is going to look better because what it does is not only does it cover up those kind of see-through areas, but it darkens everything, so it's not as apparent. I think this one is going to be a little bit more in your face when there is a clear spot. You're going to see that silver, and so I don't know that this is going to be a whole lot better than the brass tubes. Now in these ones we had gold flake. Maybe I could have just gone with a brass tube. You know, I don't know. I mean, I think it would have just been a lot more apparent going with that, but I think black or darker green is probably going to be the way to go for these things. And I think these are all going to work out fine. If we're all kind of like, yeah, these kind of suck, these round ones, I think we're going to scrap those and I'm just going to pour these style. There's still going to be some gaps. I mean, you're definitely going to have to paint the tubes on these things, but I've never really had any problems if I poured them like this, typically in the past. So that's a lot of information. And one thing, so Troy was saying super clear picture. You know, one of the big reasons, and I've been meaning to upgrade going back to the streaming setup. One of the problems that I had with that other computer that I had is it didn't have even a USB 3.1 connection. I have 3 USB 3 ports on there, but they're not connected to the motherboard, so they don't even actually work. Data doesn't actually transfer at, you know, whatever speed the 3.0 USB ports were. And the problem is all of these camera connections require at least a 3.1 or, you know, more. So I'm not surprised that the picture quality is a little bit better. It should be, kind of thing. But anyway, and one other thing about streaming in the future, I'm planning, and I have the capability right now. I wanted to kind of do a simple one with just YouTube, but I'm probably going to stream to Facebook and YouTube, possibly even Instagram, all at the same time. That way, if people just don't really want to go to YouTube, don't know about the stream, we can cover people. And the cool thing is you can pull in the chat comments from all of those things into one place. Now, if you're watching on YouTube, you're only going to see in the chat window the YouTube comments, but it is possible for this software to pull in all the comments onto the screen. I don't know if I love that idea necessarily. It's just creating, then you're going to have to sit there and watch the screen if you want to see Facebook comments. So I'm not sure how I feel about it. We'll have to kind of test it out, see if it works and if it's kind of weird or not. But I thought it'd be kind of cool to you know, be able to stream it, you know, multiple places at once. And the other thing is, I don't know if the Instagram thing works, because Instagram's, I'm pretty sure if you're streaming there, it's like a vertical picture. So I'm not even sure if that actually works. But those are the 3 that I use. So Anyway, let's see here. Is there any other questions or anything? I saw Kim was here for a second. Kim, you need to get me your address so I can send you those pen kits. I'm going to have to put a deadline on this, and we're going to have to pick someone else if she doesn't give me her address. So let's see here. I don't think I see any other questions. Let's see. Didn't know powder. Yeah, Turner's Warehouse is, as far as I know, they're the only place that have the powder coated tubes, and I don't know which ones. I know they have black and white. They used to have like blue in like a painted silver. Some of those, and even red, I think. But I don't know. I think they might. I'm pretty sure that they have black and white for again, Sierra, Cigar, and Juniors. They might have a couple other pen kits, but I'm pretty sure that they have those three in black and white for sure. I love the powder coated ones because I tend to not get the tubes painted, because the problem is, like, the way that I do things, I usually get the blanks prepped Fridays. And so the problem is, if that's what I'm used to, and so you can't spray paint the tubes Friday, wait 10 minutes, and then glue them in. You need to really give them like overnight to fully dry before you glue them in. So it screws up my timeline. And so the powder coated tubes save my day. I don't have to worry about painting and messing around with it drying. They work great. They're good stuff. So, all right, so let's switch over to the turning cam. Let's go for the silver one first. Like I said, I think I'm going to be a little bit more disappointed about this one, but I wanted to kind of show you guys how this will work, and I think that'll really show you some of the gaps in this. Like I said, by the time you get done turning this, we'll have to see how these work. I do think that I would say that the square ones are going to be just a little bit better. I didn't cut any of these up to kind of compare, but they're going to be a little bit more densely packed, I think. It works that way a little bit more. But I'm thinking, in the past, I've always done it about the same way. And the black ones, they look fine to me. So let's see how these things look. So we'll go over to the turning view. That's looking pretty good. One other cool thing about the new software that I'm using for streaming is you can natively just hook a phone up. Like I don't have it set up right now to test out. I just wanted to kind of do, like I said, I kind of forgot to hook things up. And I don't really want to mess around with the stream settings while we're live right now. I'd rather do a little bit of testing to make sure I know how that's supposed to get set up. But you can basically just wirelessly use an iPhone. I think you can use you might even be able to use like any phone. I just know that for sure iPhones work, and it'll just pick it up wirelessly, and you can use that as a camera. So I could walk around and like get different shots of things that are a little bit more difficult dragging cords around with the other cameras that I have. And like the overhead view camera, that thing's basically, I'm not moving it. Like I don't mind. It's on a tripod. I can kind of move it around. It's not that hard. But I mean, having a phone, and the phone's going to be good quality. I've got 3 different like lenses, just push a button. Like it's going to be pretty cool. Now here's going to be a big deal. I'm going to turn the dust collector on. Let me know if this is way too loud for some reason. I did do a test. The dust collector might be a little bit louder than it was with the other microphone. Maybe. I don't think it's going to be terrible. I still don't love having to run a dust collector while I'm doing this, but I have to. So let me know if it's terrible. I'm going to get my iPhone out, open up the chat so I can see you guys talking. Let's see here. My channel. View channel. There we are. We got our chat. There we go. Oh, P-Town has powder coated. Turner's Warehouse has them at a better price. I love it. Nice. I saw Gene's here, so welcome, Gene. Been a while. I'm glad that you are getting some more time to come out and join the fun. These are, yeah, these are the right glasses, I guess. Okay, so we got our, I've got a negative rate cutter on there. That'll work great. Let's get things rolling here. Let me know, like I said, not too loud. Well, I haven't, okay. Not a fan of streaming. Yeah. Yeah, I'm not sure how I feel about it, but at the same time, tons of people do multi-platform streaming, so I thought we'd try it out. If it sucks, I'll just be like, yeah, this sucks. Like I said, though, you can run the chat on the screen from all. It'll combine. I can put it like, you know, on the left side, and you can see the chat coming in from all sources. I don't know how much I like that or not. I mean, it takes up, you know, screen real estate, but I don't know. We'll have to try it. I mean, I've kind of stayed away from it, obviously. I've never done it before for various reasons in the past. But I have a feeling there's a lot of people on Facebook that are just flat unwilling. Like they just want to stay on Facebook. They don't want to come to YouTube and mess around. So we'll see. I don't know. Frankly, I don't care either way. It's not like it's going to be, it's not going to transform my stream and I'm going to have 1 million subscribers and like I don't really care. I'm just trying to, if there's an easy way to get more people, you know, able to watch, that's cool. But if it's not good, like if it's causing problems for, you know, if it's worse than what it was before for everybody on YouTube, then we're not doing it, you know. The main thing is that this function is just native in the software, whereas I was using OBS before, and I think there's a way to do it. There's different ways that you can do multi-streaming in OBS, but it requires plugins and probably paying somebody, you know, some service, and I just really wasn't interested in any of that. This platform is called Prism Live Studio. It's basically OBS, but it's got a bunch of extra goodies baked into the software, and that was one of them. So I'm like, well, okay, you know, why not try it? See what it's like. All right, so let's just stop. We're into the blank at this point. Yeah, so there's some gaps. I don't know. I still think it's going to be not too bad. Now, the other thing is, in the past, I used a slightly different type of shredded money, and that may play a little bit of a factor in how these turn out also. These are like the long shredded chunks, whereas the ones that I was using, I'm going to switch cameras and show you guys what I was using before, just so you can compare. So we're switching back to the casting view here. So this is what we did, and they're like kind of longer shreds of it. This is what I used to use. They're more like small chunks. And I don't know, I almost kind of prefer these smaller chunks, like the not longer shreds. It's just like a mix of different stuff, you know. So you know, that may play a little bit of a factor in this, where these shreds tend to, the way that they kind of lay in a blank, or in a mold, I should say, may kind of almost require you to like really densely pack this stuff, whereas the stuff I was using before may be a little bit more forgiving, I guess, in that sense. You still got gaps. I mean, it's not like you didn't have any, you know, clear parts or something like that. You did, but I just felt like it was really never that big of a deal, and nobody really complained. I didn't make that many shredded money blanks, but I got no complaints, so I just kind of figured it's not really that big of a deal. One thing I don't think I've ever done, though, is is go for the shredded money and gold leaf in pen blanks. I don't know. I might have done that in the previous pen blank, or like blank subscription. I think we made some. One drawback, let's say, to having to use a 7/8 inch, vertical mold is you got a lot of, you're going to be turning a lot of wasted resin, I guess. I think something that's maybe like a happy medium would maybe be a PVC pipe. They're more like an 11/16, which is, we're kind of splitting hairs, but I mean, it's basically between a 7/8 and a 3/4. So it's a little bit bigger to make it pour, so you can pour it into that vertical slot a little bit easier, but it's just not as much of kind of like a waste once you get the blank on the lathe. I don't think 7/8 is really that big of a deal. I mean, if we were trying to make a pen out of a 1-inch pen blank, that would kind of, that's where I'm starting to get a little bit like, well, I don't know about that. Oh yeah, moderating Facebook. Didn't think about that, but I don't know. Gretchen's here? Oh my goodness. One thing that I would probably recommend is to go for fatter pens, just to keep more of the shredded money. We're already having issues where there's going to probably be gaps, right? So turning these things down to tube, or bushing, going for a flat bushing diameter pen, probably not going to net you the best results. So this is definitely a good time. Everybody wants a fat money pen anyway, nobody wants a skinny money pen. Close. All right, let's stop and see where we're at here. Get you guys kind of pulled in. I got to get the camera plugged in too so it doesn't die. I'm going to go look at the screen. So, there's definitely some gaps in there. I would say that this is borderline too many gaps for me. That's the tough thing, you know. That's why you really got to like load these things up. Yeah, the camera looks good, but I do think that it helps to darken the blank a little bit. So you know, this silver one is like blaringly obvious that we've got, you know, we're seeing the tube in there. And I think once we polish this, you're gonna see glue splotches for sure too. So I don't know, I'm not sure. Let's get you guys back over here. Zoom in just a little bit, one more time from this angle. We'll have to see once we polish it up. But we've kind of lost a lot of that money, you know. It's not going to be like covered. Again, I mean, even if you did what I was talking about, where you really load up the money and then you like pack it down in there, I still don't think that you're going to get it to the point where there's not going to be any tube showing anywhere. I just don't think that's going to happen. Now, one other way that you could maybe kind of cover some of this stuff up and blend it a little bit better. Maybe even throw in some green mica powder. I don't know if I've ever even tried that. It may kind of muddy things up and you're not like really seeing that shredded money as much, but it could work. I don't know. It would definitely, you know, kind of cover up those those clear transparent areas. Let me get my camera plugged in here. Okay. Ah, you got the Apollo kit from the last product. Nice. Fountain pen turned out perfect. Nice, or fantastic. Nice. I love it. Still got a little bit to go here on the ends. I think that's probably got me. Got a little bit of a bulbousness going on down there. All right, so let me just try to get the curves a little bit smoother in here. There we go. All right, I think that's looking pretty good. All right, let's start doing some wet sanding. I can turn the dust collector off, so that's great. All right, I'm gonna get some gloves on. I like using, well, actually, I'm gonna go get some fresh water. This thing's been sitting here for like a week. There's probably some funk going on in there, you know. One thing that we're gonna see is how far this transmitter works also, between walls and everything. Let me know if it cuts out. I can't see right now, but when I come back, let me know if we've got some issues. The other one seemed, I'm pretty sure it always worked, walking all the way over here. Very curious to see. I haven't tested these microphones in this way. The DJI mics are really good. Actually, I'm a little bit bummed out that DJI just came out with the DJI Mic 2. And they have something like built-in noise canceling, and I'm seriously wonder if those things would pretty much block out the lathe, because like they're meant. It may be a little bit too loud and like right next to me, but Supposedly these things like totally cancel out like road noise if you're out, like vlogging on the street. That's kind of, I think, what they intended them for, cars driving by and that kind of noise. But I'm kind of curious. The problem is I ain't spending $350 on new microphones. I have like 500 microphones already. Okay, so let's, of course there's no, that looks like 1,000 grit. I don't know. This 600, there's a 400. Oh, this one's 600. 600 grit, we'll start there. It did cut out a little bit, okay. So Stephen, we're the next one. This is the one. This is a colored tube. It's silver. So these pen kits come with just if anybody doesn't know exactly what's going on with these things. When you buy a pen kit that has all the little components that we're going to press on, they come with brass. All right, and so those stick out kind of like a sore thumb. So a lot of times, most of the time, you're going to try and cover that up. I'm using what they call a nickel-plated tube, and so it looks like it's like chrome on this one. But the other one that we're going to turn today, I have a black tube on it. Trying to find a black tube here real quick. There's one. So I got a black powder coated tube, which this is what I've used in the past on this type of a pen. I like, because it darkens it and it just doesn't make it seem as like there's like all these vacant spots. This is going to reflect light with that nickel plated, and that's why I wanted to kind of throw this in there and just kind of show you guys. This can be useful in certain ways. The nickel plated, having more light transfer, because it's reflecting off of that, it's very shiny, and bright. You're going to get a lot of light visibility in that blank. In this case, I think it's going to make things a lot worse. The black ones, black absorbs light, so it darkens the blank, and it's just these gaps are just not as like noticeable typically. Another way to go would be just using a green painted tube. I just didn't have any green spray paint. Probably a darker green would probably be the best in this case, but I didn't have that, so black's what we're going with. But definitely, you're on the right track. Trying to cover up these, see-through parts. This is the tough part about, if you're making pens. There's different types of pens you can make. There's the bespoke pens, and in that case, there's no tubes. You're literally cutting threads and all that kind of stuff. You're making the entire pen out of the material. So in that case, transparent parts don't matter. It's just not a thing. But when you're doing kit pens, so we'll have, like a nib and like a clip and all that kind of stuff, finial on the back that we're going to press into that tube. When you're doing these things, this whole tube issue can be problematic if there's transparent or semi-transparent areas in the blank, in the material that you've mounted to that tube. Apple noise canceling. Yeah, I don't think that'll work the way that I'm not using like Apple software, so I don't really think it would, that matters, or whatever. I don't know if that's like an option for me. I'm very interested in seeing how the DJI mic 2 would work in this type of a scenario. Luckily, I mean, it's not that bad. You can still hear my voice. It's just you got to listen to this droning noise. I wish I could noise cancel it while I'm doing it myself, But I just, like I said, I'm not spending that. I just dropped like $1,000 on this new computer, so new microphones really aren't in the budget right now. Vinny's here. You didn't miss that much. Yeah, definitely check out the beginning. I kind of talked about the new streaming setup, those types of things. But Let me just see if I missed anything while I was walking around. Yeah, I know. When the dust collector goes off, it's very nice. But at the same time, there's also the awe feeling when you turn it on and there's no dust in your face. This thing just works so good. And, you know, ever since upgrading my dust collection system in the shop, what I used to do was I had a giant fan behind me. And I would just turn the fan on. I mean, a huge fan. And no dust collection at all. And that was great. It kind of blew the dust away, but then it would cover my entire shop. The one thing that I didn't think about, I'm thinking like, oh, the fan's just blowing the dust one direction kind of thing, you know? But what's happening, and you know, and I knew it was blowing the dust somewhere, but it kind of blew it to the dusty, you know, like where the table saw and all this stuff is that, you know, creates dust anyway. But what's actually happening is all the fine stuff ends up coming back around the shop and then getting sucked back into the fan. So it just circulates it like everywhere in your shop. So that was not a very great idea. I'm giving this a little extra time because it was a little bumpy. I usually can get a little bit better, like smoother surface using a standard cutter. Sometimes not, but a lot of times I kind of can. It's just it cuts a little bit more than kind of scrapes. So I usually have to do a little bit more sanding if I'm using a negative rake, but the negative rake cutters are pretty much guaranteed not to get any kind of chip out or mistake grab catch, you know. So they're nice to use on resin, but they do have some drawbacks here and there. All right, so I'm just going to kind of wipe that off real quick, and then we're going to skip. At this point, I'm pretty much done doing that 600,000 grit with the black, you know, with the silicon carbide only. I think that 600 silicon carbide is the way to go, because we did that test last time, and I mean, it was like night and day. 600, this stuff takes off a good amount of material. This is taking off this is doing the same duty as my 400 grit Abernet did. But it's also doing it better because I'm wet sanding. I didn't wet sand with that stuff. So I like the 600 grit. It's more efficient and it works better, I find. But the Zona papers are definitely better at leaving no scratches. So I think I'm back. This is what I was doing originally, but I think we're back to it because I was very pleased with the results last time. Oh yeah, negative rake scrapers work pretty good. But, you know, the problem is if you don't have a grinder set up and all that, it's a lot of money and it's extra time, and, you know, it's not that hard to set it up and all that, but I mean, that's the beauty of the carbide tools. I mean, they eliminate so much of the extra things that you have to do for turning tools. So it's tough, but yeah, they do work pretty good. Because I used to use those before they came out with the negative rake, you know, Easy Wood Tools scrapers. These are a really nice cut. You get that little burr on there, just kind of takes a smooth cut. Smooth cut. Hey, William. So you could probably go with a CA finish if you wanted. We'll have to kind of see how this looks after polishing. What could happen is there may be little pinholes. Like, that's another thing about these kind of blanks. It's very difficult to not have any pinholes or any of that kind of, you know, or the gaps and all that kind of stuff. CA finish will cover all that stuff up and you'll get a nice even finish. So we'll just polish this one, see what it looks like, and if there's like obvious defects here and there, pinholes, the minute we put the magic juice on, if there's pinholes, it's going to have little white dots, yeah, polka dots. You can blow it out with the air hose usually, but you know, that'll tell us if we should probably pull out the CA and just give it a coating to seal everything up. And then we'll go with the gray Zona paper. So what's everybody working on in their shops today? I know a lot of people like listen to the stream and then do, they're like actually getting work done in the shop at the same time. That's pretty cool. That's efficient. So I think the Mid-Ohio Valley pen turning gathering is going on this weekend also. So that's cool. I'm kind of guessing nobody's there that's in the chat. But I am curious to see. I bet a few people went to that, that are regulars, let's say. It's a good one. It's really tough to get there. For me, it's a pretty expensive trip to get to that place, so I've never made it out. Turner's Warehouse is there. I do know that. I'm not sure who all else. But it's a pretty good pen turning gathering show. It's one of the good ones. I don't think there's any bad ones, But definitely if you're into pens, to pen turning, those things are pretty cool to go to. I'd highly recommend it if, definitely if it's kind of, pretty convenient, around where you live. That's one of the tough things for me is like none of this stuff is anywhere close to where I live. So, but there's one in Ohio. I think there's one in like Virginia area. There's one in, I think in the South, like Atlanta maybe area, something. Nashville. So as you can see, there's a lot in the South and kind of the East side, Midwest, but. Oh yeah, Brian's there. That's right. Sharpen about 20 knives. Yeah, man. I need to sharpen. We have a bunch of knives at our house that just suck. We use one of those like pull through. It's not really sharpening it. It's sort of with the two cutter things that are in there. You stick the blade in the V. Those things. It'll make it sharper than a dull knife, but it's really not sharpening anything, I don't think. Someday I need to do that. I'm good at sharpening chisels and plane irons. Not particularly great at sharpening like knives, like where two edges are on angles. I'm cool if like one angle's a flat and one angle's, an angle. You can use simple guides, and I know there's like sharpening guide kind of setups, but even still, I was never that good at the sharpening knives part. All right, so we're going to switch over to our magic juice. I can't wait to see how this thing turns out. Like I said, I know that we're definitely going to be seeing through a good amount of this thing. One other thing is, I only used like one blank and like it seemed like one end of the blank ended up being more, there's more gaps on one end, generally the bottom, because I couldn't pack the shredded money in as well down in the bottom of it. It's easier on the top to kind of pack everything in. So this might, that's the other thing, is this half of the blank might have been a little bit more see-through anyway. But if you're making a two-piece pen, it doesn't really make any difference. You gotta, you don't want to just waste half a blank. But that may be a difference between these two that we're doing in the test. If that's the case, the black is probably going to look even better, basically. All right, so let's get this spread out. We'll get this thing going. Yeah, I've seen the work sharps. That is like the one sharpening tool thing that I don't own. I've got, it's not the, it's not the, what is the wet grinder wheel one? It's not that brand, but it's a Jet copy of one of those things. What are those things called? I can't think of it. It's been a while since I thought about this stuff. That was more like my woodworking days. But I had like every single thing that for like sharpening. And my favorite for at least for like chisels and plane irons is just whetstones. Or diamond, either way. They just work. It's simple. Grab a guide, stick it on there, and you get good results. But the work sharp is the one thing that I haven't looked at. Are you talking about just the knife sharpening? Because they got like a bunch of different work sharp things, little tool things. Whoa, see what I mean? Number 2. What is it with number 2? God, just gets you. I'm gonna try this again. I'm gonna add a little bit more number 2 to my rag and try this one more time here. I mean, it's not like that made it not shiny. I'm just gonna press a little bit more, and there we go. Thing always wraps up. And again, guys, that is why you don't want to be using like a rag or something that's not going to rip if it wraps up, because if it does that, I mean, you can get very injured quick. So always, even, people say gloves. You don't want to have normal gloves. These things don't really grab, and if it did, it would rip a nitrile glove. I'm not that worried about these. But again, in your own shop, do what is safest, what you feel comfortable doing. But definitely do not use rags that will not rip, because it's very easy for this stuff to get wrapped up on the lathe. And another one is long sleeves, and another one is long hair. So just keep any dangling anything away from your lathe. Otherwise, I mean, I know a girl at RIT, I don't know her, I know of this story though, that died. Her hair got caught on the lathe and she died. So it's very serious stuff. Safety first. These tools are not out to be our friends. I think everybody knows the number 2. Wicked edge system. Okay. I'm gonna have to look into some of these because I'm very disappointed. I do not like the stupid, and I'm talking like mostly like kitchen knives and things. I hate the thing that we use. It's just, I know it's not sharpening it. It's just mangling the edge, but it's a little sharper, at home. I got all the stuff, I think I even have like the DMT knife sharpening doohickey thing here at the shop somewhere. And that thing worked fine. It was okay. Definitely better than that. I forget what that thing is called that I have it in the kitchen. But it ain't good. I'll have to come back and look at. So I know Work Sharp, Tormek. That's Tormek. Is that right? Tormach is that's a CNC machine. Tormek, I think. Shapton. Yeah, I like Shapton stones. I think that's pretty much what I have for the whetstones. Yeah, you definitely have to sharpen flattening the stones. Like I said, for chisels and plane irons, I got that. I really got that stuff down. It took me a while. It's funny because like once you figure it out, it's not like mysterious, but sometimes it takes quite a while to like figure it out. And number 6, and then we'll be done. Oh, the work sharp's quick. Nice. Yeah, I know. I'm becoming more and more aware, especially of the table saw. I have a saw stop, so it's, you know, not as murdery, but if anybody's interested in machining, you know, like metal machining, check out a channel called Blondie Hacks, Blondi Hacks. She is awesome. She is an excellent machining teacher, but I'm gonna mess up what she says. But she has like this quote where she's like, "Every tool in the shop is trying to murder me," and I'm like, you know what? That is absolutely the truth. They really are, because if you don't, you know, if you just one misstep and it'll get you. So you gotta be diligent. That looks pretty darn good, actually. I don't have a problem with this personally. I got to hear what you guys think about this. It looked kind of terrible when it wasn't polished. I got to be honest, like I'm good with this. Even with the silver. Let's try and get this like set up so it's nice, and I'm gonna zoom in even further. I don't know if that matters or not for you guys. Focus. Is it focused? Let me put my glasses on because I can't see. Yeah, that's pretty focused. Look at this. I like it. I mean, again, like even in the best shredded money blank, you're not going to get like where it's like this, like, you know, one layer totally densely packed. I mean, you're going to get little gaps and things. Like this isn't bad at all. Huh. It is shiny. I mean, like, again, you're going to get light transfer using something like a silver tube like that, but I'm good with this. I think it's fine. You're going to see some glue splotches on something like this for sure. Let me just kind of get the camera just a little bit out of the way for me. I need to get in. Yeah, like there's a glue splotch. Like that's a splotchy area right in here. It's not like shiny silver. But it's not apparent either. This seems kind of gluey, splotchy down there a little bit. It's not that bad though. It's not bubbly. Dang, that's very good. That was a really good polishing job. Well, a lot of times black things, darker things show scratches a lot better. So it may just be, it just seems like so shiny. What do you guys think about this? Floating shredded money and gold foil. Yeah. Huh. Sheesh. Okay, well, I mean, you know, let's load up the, sorry, this is going to be a little bit, don't watch the screen right now. Let me zoom out. Let's load up the black one, the black tubed one, and then we'll be able to compare. But I mean, I got to be honest, guys, I see no reason to not send any of the blanks that we made, because it's just not going to get that much better. You know, no matter what I do, that's not bad. You know, again, if we doubled the amount of shredded money that was in the pot, we would have more, but you would still have, even if you doubled the amount of material in this, you'd still see through parts. I want to make sure that everybody kind of understands that. These things can be pretty difficult to make, you know, like the best on the planet. There are a few people that do it, but, oh, I wanted to show you guys. I made, we poured some of the excess into one of the faux burl molds. Check this out. Money burl. That's pretty sweet. Now, again, the first part, we didn't get it packed down in there as much, but, and then I ended up, I think we only went to about here on the first pour, and I filled the rest. That thing's pretty sweet. I have a huge box of these faux burls. We're going to have to, like, I don't know, maybe I'll put together. Does anybody have any interest in making stoppers and would be interested in purchasing some of these excess, I mean, they would be super cheap because they're just, you know, the excess pores. But I'm going to show you guys a box of faux burls that we have real quick here. Hold on, I got to clear the money blanks and stuff out of the way. Yeah, I'm very happy with the way that blank turned out. Huh. I mean, the first couple looks that we gave it, I was like, I don't know. We'll have to see how this is going to go. So check this out, guys. Boom. Look at this box of burls. So if anybody's interested, I'd, you know, probably put like a, I don't know, I'd have to figure out how to do this. But they're pretty much ready for you to just put in a, you know, like recast, basically. Just grab yourself. I would probably kind of clean up some of the bottoms. Some of these things have some funky bottoms. But all you do is you just pop it in a tube, and then you can recast it with, you know, if you want to put glitters or do whatever you want. You could even go with colors on the top and have like kind of a half and half kind of weird thing going on. But I mean, I got tons of these things, and they're all just over pours. So if anybody has any interest in like a cheap box of, you know, faux burls to recast, let me know. I'll put something like that together because I got a lot of them. Why am I so clear my throat all day? Jeez. I apologize for that. Got a frog going on. Okay, so I got to switch back to the other camera before we start. That would always be good. Yeah, so for the so one thing before I switch cameras, since I'm right here, so there's going to be kind of a mixed bag of blanks because I've already made some of them were made, you know, I made square ones. So some of the people in the pen blank club are going to get square ones, but I don't see any reason to not ship the round ones. I think they're fine. Now, one thing I do want to mention, I do think that my system, because this batch, these ones was a full batch. 1, 2, 3, 4, almost a full batch. Maybe there was a full batch. This one looks like one of these. There are a couple that have pretty big gaps. So this was we did try 1 3/4 inch. You can see in the middle, I mean, there's like a gigantic gap. So nobody's getting this one, okay? And then a couple of these have pretty big gaps that are just like completely obvious. Actually, that one's not that bad. But these were the ones we did on the stream, and I didn't try to pack them down. So I think we're going to keep them out of this. I'm going to make one more batch. But I'm kind of running out of time. But if I can figure out a way to get, like, if I can find something that's like a screen to pack down the shredded money, I really think that vertical is not a bad way to go. So just wanted to kind of let you guys know that's what's going to happen. It's going to be kind of mixed if you're in the pen blank club. Some of you will get the square ones, some of you will get the round ones. But it'll be about half and half. So let's do that. Yeah, it's not exactly the look I was going for, but I like the way it looks. Joan's interested. Cool. I'll put something together and get a listing up on the website. But it's going to be cheap, you know, because this is just kind of excess resin. The one thing is I don't pressurize these. Okay, so again, that's another reason why it's going to be cheap. But I've made some of these into handles and stoppers, and I mean, really, I didn't see. Here's one. Here's a stopper that I made. Let's go back to this view real quick. I mean, there's no problems with, you know, with like pinholes. Some of them may, you know, if I poured it fairly late, maybe there might be a few pinholes and stuff, but I don't think that you're going to really have any issues necessarily. Pretty sure this was an excess one. But, you know, if there are little pinholes, really you should be able to just fill it with some CA glue and be, you know, it should pretty much fix the problem. But, you know, if you want to do something kind of fun or even just like kind of practice, they're good practice blanks, I would definitely say, if you want to try your hand recasting something like that. You don't have to worry if it, you know, is 100% perfect, because it was cheap. We like cheap. I do. Okay, so let's get back over here. Did I miss anything? Steven, you watched it? Yeah, she is awesome. That is one of the best YouTube channels on the planet. Because I was thinking, we have a metal lathe, and I wanted to learn. Chad kind of gave me some pointers and stuff, but she covers a lot of stuff. She also covers other machines. So we're talking about the Blondie Hacks YouTube channel. She covers, like, you know, mills and other things. And does some pretty cool projects as well. But she's an excellent teacher. She really covers in an easy to follow, you know, no hype or anything, method of kind of going through and explaining what you need to, you know, get going and like what, you know, the things that are important, what not to do. I think I'm going to turn my cutter. It feels a little bit kind of like dull. So I think I'm just going to give it a little bit of a turn. See if I can get a little bit better cut on this guy. I'm really hoping this black one turns out even better, you know? If it turns out even better than the silver one, I mean, woo, I don't know what to do. Now, another way that you can go, if you got a lot of material to take off, if you have just a square cutter, a pretty quick way of like just knocking material off is to just come in with a square cutter and bring it down like that. So you're not just taking like 50,000 passes. So I just wanted to kind of point that out a little bit. Maybe a little bit more, you know, definitely a little bit more risky, I guess, compared to like a negative rake. Now there are negative rake. This is not negative rake or anything. They have negative rake square cutters, but they don't have like a dead square edge. So I find that the regular cutters, if you're going to do this kind of thing, are better. And the thing is, you just want to, you know, take your time. Don't try to take a gigantic amount of material off all at once. And you'll be good, you know? I think this edge is a lot duller than the other one. This is cutting very nice over here. That other one, not really. Now the one area, if you're using one of these square guys, and I think this is the problem with any of your regular cutters, what you need to watch out for is rolling the tool, because that's how you get a significant catch. If you're not keeping that tool flat, if it tends to, if you're a little bit hard, you know, like if your right hand, if you're holding it the way I am with left hand up front and then right in the back, if you tend to like grab hold and do stuff, that once it catches and then it hits down, that's how you get catches, I find. So just, you know, make sure that you got this thing nice and flat on your tool rest. Don't be over grabby with your, let's just call it your back, whatever hand is on the back. But these square tools can really come in handy. Yeah, that corner's just, this side's dead. All right, so we got the majority of this guy cleaned up. And you could even kind of shape it a little bit if you were trying to put a little bit of, you know, camber into it. You can kind of shape it around when you're cutting with the square. Another way to go is to, you know, use it like you were using a metal lathe, you know, and just come in and try and kind of come sideways with the tip. It's not a bad way to go either. Again, though, I kind of find that I tend to roll things. I'm a little bit backhand, I don't know, it's too active. And so it's harder for me to slide a square cutter sideways and not get a little tip. So I typically don't do that. I just haven't practiced much, but it is a pretty neat way to kind of just hog off a bunch of material quick, and then you can come back with your shaping tools and just don't have as much work to do. All right, so is the stream still working good? No major issues? Haven't seen any chatting for a while, so I'm a little concerned. All fine, okay, good. You guys are just mesmerized by that square carbide cutter tutorial. That was pretty in-depth. Kev's here. Yeah, I think that would be kind of weird. I would just continue going with the skew on an angle if I were you. I tried going with a skew. It is pretty nice. It's so efficient. You can do so many things with it. The problem is, if you mess up with a skew chisel, you're done. Like, generally, if you mess up at all, it's over. You know, you've blown up the blank for sure. So, and this was, I only tried it out like way back in the day when I was just doing wood blanks. But if I messed up with that thing, everything was all great. You got such a great smooth surface and everything. But when I messed up, it was total catastrophe, and I was like, I just can't play these odds. Especially when like something's, you know, like it's a blank that I just absolutely cannot. I need to get through this one, and it needs to not blow up. So I'm a chicken. All right, I think I've hacked at this thing enough. I don't think one more pass is going to do a whole lot of anything at this point. So let's switch gears here. We'll do a little bit of wet sanding. Turn off the dust collector. That's nice. One of the things in the software, I'm pretty sure this is in like most of the streaming software, but there was a noise suppressor filter thing that you could turn on. I tried that out. It was terrible. Not good. You didn't hear the dust collector, I will say that. But my voice was also like garbled and weird, so that didn't work. What did I use before EasyWood? I used EasyWood, you know, with other things, but I have some Thompson, set of Thompsons. I got a bunch of different things. I have kind of a set of Thompsons, and I used them for quite a while. They're pretty good. I liked them, but I got to be honest. Oh shoot, I can't think of the name. Carter and Son. I really like their tools. I have some of theirs. I really like this thin parting tool, but their handles are great. Let's see if I can zoom out. Well, I've got a few. The problem for me is I'm not in it for my strength is casting, and I find it a lot easier not having to mess with grinding and all that kind of stuff. I have all the setups and stuff, but I don't really find it to be particularly useful to go, you know, to use traditional tools. I'd rather just go with carbide. They work great. Sometimes I do pull out traditional tools. Like, you know, I'm most likely I would probably, if I was turning a bowl, possibly, well, at this point it's been years since I turned a wooden bowl. I might pull out a bowl gouge. I don't know. I'm more into pens anyway, so carbide works great. For those, there's some nice things that you can do because of the way that they operate with traditional tools. You know, it's a little bit easier to like create a bead and like certain things just kind of are a little easier, but with resin, they're not for me because of that material. In wood, I think that your regular, you know, chisels are pretty great, but then you got the catches and, and that stuff, and I don't know. It just depends on what you want, but I just think carbide is so easy that I think for most people it's plenty. You know, it's plenty of tool, and you can do all the same stuff that your traditional tools can do, but they're just a little bit different, you know. What am I doing? I guess I'm ready. Okay, so 600 grit. Actually, I think I'm gonna pull out some new sandpapers. These things have seen a few blanks at this point. Obviously, they worked fine on the last one, but and I'm gonna actually write 600 on this one so that I don't forget. Cut that one. What else do I need? You got the blue. Oh, did I throw the blue away? Oh. That was a mistake. Okay, so I got a blue piece, I got a gray piece that's too long. Got a green piece, and I've got 600. And I find it very helpful to actually write, because you know, you cut your little sandpapers, but then you don't know which one it is. That's the nice thing about the Zona papers; they're color coded. But silicon carbide sandpaper is all just gray, so not helpful. What is the mat under the water cup? Oh, that's a ShamWow. Remember those? I found them somewhere, and I was like, I'm buying ShamWow. This is like, I don't know, at drugstores, sometimes they'll have like an aisle full of like as seen on TV things, and I thought it was hilarious. They had ShamWows, so I bought some. It's more of just a joke. Yeah, I mean, it absorbs stuff. They really work better if you wet them first, though, to absorb a lot of stuff. Yeah, I pull out my skews to like go inside things and do like, you know, basically using it like a scraper. But it's very helpful having the angled kind of thing, and sometimes it just works a little bit easier for me since I have one. The way that it's set up is just an easier thing to just grab right away than the detailer tools. The problem I have with the detailers, and it's not a big deal, but why I pull out the skew instead sometimes is they're on a diamond, which getting the right angle, because it's such a long, I don't know, it's like a pretty acute angle, and it's just kind of a weird, but it's also like an obtuse angle on the other side. So it's just sometimes like the lining up and trying to get in square to things, having a diamond on there, it's just, it makes it harder for me sometimes. So I've always got my skew set up because it's easier just to come in. It's you know, I don't have to think as much sometimes just because of the angle that it's on for certain, you know, like one or two operations. I've always been right tool for the job. I'm not the type I would rather have a lot more tools. I love tools, and I would have rather pick the right tool for the job that makes it the easiest than try and like, if one's going to be easier, I'd rather just go buy that tool than get by with whatever I have, you know. I don't have too much problem going and buying a new tool. Depending. I mean, it's, you know, it's like those microphones that I was talking about. I mean, would really love to just go out and drop $350 on the new DJI mic and see if the noise canceling thing fixes the dust collector, but that's a case where $350, that's a lot. Okay, I think I've sanded the death out of that thing. And I don't know if this makes any difference at all, but I'm going to wipe that off and just clear. I'm kind of changing to a different type of sandpaper, so I don't know. It definitely ain't going to hurt anything to kind of wipe off, clean off that surface. But I don't really feel it's that necessary to clean the surface between grits of the Zona papers. I don't really, because there's like kind of an argument that the way sandpaper works, and probably these things too, I guess, but the way sandpaper works, little chunks break off and expose fresh edges as you're going. And so if you don't wipe off or clean the bucket of water and do all this stuff, you could get little grit particles that you're contaminating as you go up higher and higher grits. I don't know. Again, there's something to be said about it. Even some people go as far as to have different buckets for each grit, right? Nothing wrong with that, and you're definitely guaranteed to never have any kind of weird grit contamination, but I can get pretty good results not messing around with any of that stuff, so yeah, I don't really see the point. I don't know that it's that necessary, but sometimes I'll just, like that, wipe off the surface. Okay, that's easy. I'll do that. That's why you can do money blanks, yeah. Yeah, I don't know if you're talking about the skew chisel or not, but some materials, I think that you're just, yeah, you could use traditional tools and that's great, but you're really making it difficult on yourself. And if you just went and bought a, relatively cheap carbide tool, it would be a lot easier. In some cases, I don't think that pens, most materials, but there are some materials that, I would never take a standard, high-speed steel tool to. I have in the past, and it's terrible. Like back in the day, I used to make these sagebrush blanks, and that material stabilized is just so darn abrasive and tough that you would get like two passes with a, like a standard chisel, high-speed steel. And I'm using good steel, I'm using Thompson, like the powdered, I think they use powdered steel and all this, whatever. So it's a pretty tough steel and all that, but your 2 passes, you got to go sharpen it. Like, no thanks. Let me just grab the carbide, and it can handle it a lot more because it's more durable, How many blanks can I do? I don't hold on to sandpaper. I don't try to squeeze out. I do maybe like five pens, let's say. And then I try to kind of use all of the paper, as much as possible. It's kind of hard. I don't know which side I necessarily used if I put it down and put it away, but I'd say 5 or 6 pens and go grab a new piece just to make sure it's nice and fresh. It eliminates the possibility of areas on the sandpaper that are, less gritty or used up, let's say, however you want to put it. In which case, things are a little bit more efficient. Especially since you can cut these 8.5 by 11 sheets of paper into like tiny scraps, You don't need a lot, so I'd rather just get a fresh piece, know that it's good to go, and then move on. But you could you could probably do, 10 to 20 pens, no problem with this stuff. If you really wanted to, I'd just rather not. It's not worth it. It doesn't. These little scraps don't cost enough for me to worry about, compared to maybe missing some scratches or having to sand longer. All right, and then on the blue, it would be nice if it told you when it was used up, like it changed color or something. They got to come out with that for sandpaper. That'd be cool. Nope, that one's going in the trash. It turned pink. Okay, so let's stop this guy. Let's see what we're looking at here. It's time to move on to the magic juice polish. I'm gonna wipe my hands off real quick. I'm gonna blow, I like to blow off the blank because there's probably water trapped between the bushings and the blank. I don't know that water's really gonna make any, like have some negative effect on the magic juice. But that's not something that I really need to experiment or find out about, you know. Okay, so we got our magic juice over here. So let's stop it and let's get you guys in for a view. Yeah, see, I like the black personally. There are a few pretty, there's a pretty decent pocket of like see-throughness on this one that I can see. I know it's not polished yet, and it'll look even better once we polish it up, but this is a pretty good idea. So we got a pretty big like pocket there. But I kind of, yeah, it's like the money kind of pops out at your face more, being, you know, having the dark. And I would say that probably the best way to go is to paint the inside of the blank on these, because I'm seeing, you know, there's like splotchy areas where it's kind of dark black and then not, because there's like a glue separation or something like that going on. So I think that you're probably even better off if you paint the inside of the blank. You're gonna, all these areas that are in between money shreds are gonna look like almost like black resin, but you still have the depth, you know. So you might say, well, why don't you just add black resin to it? Well, then you're not seeing any depth through that material. But by painting the inside of the blank, it's going to give the effect that there's like black resin almost in there. It's going to be very even and everything, but you're still going to have that depth of the material. So I think that would probably be the best way, and the gold really pops off the black as well. So let's get it polished up, then we can really dissect this thing. But I kind of like the black. I like having that kind of black canvas around it a little bit, personally. Let me go grab some shop towel, blue towels. And for anybody that's kind of new to the channel, I really like using the shop towels for polishing. It's a softer material, a softer, you know, rag, compared to just like your white standard paper towels. They're pretty abrasive, so I find these to work pretty good. I haven't done extensive testing with like comparing white paper towels to these blue ones. I just know that, like, if I you guys are gonna laugh, if I have like a cold or something like that and I'm blowing my nose a lot, in the shop, I just basically pull out paper towels. It will just, my nose, my face will just be raw if I'm using those blue one, or the white normal paper towels. But if I use the shop towels, it's not even close to as bad. So that's my gauge on how abrasive that stuff is. So I'm not even really willing to do any testing, but that would kind of maybe be an interesting test to see if, like, little scratches, like you just never really get it above some, you know, grit level. I don't know what like the grit equivalent to Scott paper towels or Brawny, you know, 1200 grit paper towels. I don't know. So I just go with these blue ones because they, pretty sure that they're less abrasive. And I think that's more important once you start getting to like the higher, you know, the finer grit polishes and stuff. I don't have any problem wiping off a blank if I just sanded it with 600 grit, because paper towels are certainly not 600 grit. Probably not even 1000 grit, you know, really. Spindle roughing gouge, yeah. I used to use that. I use that like in the beginning. I would use just a roughing gouge. You know what I actually, and this is mind-boggling. I switched to just a spindle gouge. You know, just like a normal. Is that what am I saying the right word? Spindle gouge. Not a roughing, just like a spindle gouge. And I was okay with it. I found it sometimes be a little catchy and stuff. Then I turned a bowl, and I had my grinder set for like a 40-degree, you know, like a bowl gouge grind. And I totally forgot that I had set the tool rest or the Wolverine jig thing at like 40 or whatever the angle was. It was for a bowl gouge. And I sharpened my spindle gouge at the higher angle. That is the best, and I got nothing but good results ever since then. So I think a higher angle with resin, if you're going to use a spindle gouge, I would recommend give it a shot. Try it out. And the funny thing is, Curtis Seebeck, excuse me, dry throat. Curtis Seebeck always said that he used a bowl gouge to turn resin pens. And I was like, I'm not using a bowl gouge to turn a pen. And and the funny thing is, I totally didn't even realize it, but it probably took months before I actually realized, because I don't turn that many bowls. Then I realized that my Wolverine jig was set at 40 or whatever the angle was for a bowl gouge. And I'm like, oh man, Curtis was right. Turn a pen with a bowl gouge. It works great. I mean, it wasn't actually a bowl gouge, but it was a spindle gouge with a higher angle. So give that a shot if you're a spindle gouge user. See how you feel about it. And I'm not even sure why that works that way, but it seemed to work, because I tried putting like the other angle on again, and I got way worse results with resin. Yeah, I really like the way it kind of pops out a little bit more with the black. Because that was always my go-to. A lot of people were like, "Oh, you got to go with green," and I'm like, "Okay, do whatever you want." But I like the black, and I couldn't really put my finger on it, but people would show me the green, and it blends in and everything a little better. It's not an obvious like, oh, there's see-through parts. It's less obvious, I think, that transparency, but I think that the black still gives you a little bit more of a like that background, like that pop. Whoops, missed the hole there. So I always kind of I would just always go with black. But I really do think if you guys are going to turn these guys, especially the folks that are in the Pen Blank Club, if anybody does one and paints the inside of the tube, or I'm sorry, the inside of the blank black, definitely send me a picture of it. I'd love to see that, because I probably won't get around to trying that myself yet, at least for a little while. I'd love to see if somebody does that and how it turns out. I just think it's going to look, you're not going to, this is the problem, is these glue splotch kind of areas. Number 5 is even grabbing. Geez, what is happening today? Grabby polish. That black, I think, is just going to be more even. So I would probably recommend doing it that way. Yeah, darker green maybe, but I still think that it just all kind of blends together. Whereas like the black, the money part just pops out at you. Like it really is just kind of like bam, you got that kind of contrast a little bit more. Green looks good. I don't want to deter anybody from doing that at all. Green looks good as well. I just kind of always personally liked the that contrast between the black and the green money stuff. And I really am liking the gold really a lot too. I don't think, yeah, man. Oh, yeah, I'm digging this. I like the black. But I do like, oh, I got to plug this camera in before it dies. I need a new battery, I think, for this thing. Although, been on for a while, I guess. Okay, camera's not gonna die. Let's zoom you guys in. Tap that. Make sure that this thing is focused. I gotta go get my old man glasses. There we go. Looks like it's good. I'm gonna zoom in a little bit more. Yeah, I like the black a lot. But, you know, this is what I'm talking about. This is a glue splotch in the middle, and it's like silvery. That should all be black. And if you paint the inside of the blank, that is not going to happen. You're not going to have those weird areas. Because this part, all the you know, solid black parts, that looks amazing. I mean, just like amazing. But then, you know, we got another little silver spot there, where there's like kind of a glue blob between the tube, the black tube and the blank, and it's like silvery, shiny, kind of yucky. So, you know, this is the difference. This is the problem, and this is why, you know, you each type of pen that you make, you really have to choose, you know, if you're going to do something that's like transparent or translucent, semi-transparent, whatever, the choice is, do you go with just a painted tube, or do you go with painting the inside of the blank? And I usually, you know, this is generally my rule of thumb. If it's going to be like see-through, typically you're going to want to go for painting the inside of the blank. However, if you do that, it's going to change the way the blank looks. Okay, and so in this case, I like it. You know, I really like having all that black around there. That looks great on this one. On some blanks, though, it may completely alter the way that the blank looks. So, you know, you may love the look of the blank in blank form, and then you go and paint the inside of the blank, you know, paint the inside of the actual blank itself, and it's going to look completely different from what you, possibly from what you liked about the look of the blank. So it's kind of a toss-up, you know, do I deal with some glue splotches, or do I alter the look of the blank? And in some cases, you may want to alter the look of the blank. I think that that's really the way to go for these pens. It's going to kind of alter it. Obviously, you know, comparing, let's do some comparisons here. I might actually go back to that other camera. I think I'm going to go to the other camera because I think these will show up a little bit better. I got to switch camera views. This is where I think it would be nice to have my phone as one of the cameras, so I can just pull that out and I can get a really good shot. But this ought to be good. So, you know, I got to put my glasses on. I can't see. Make sure that we're in focus. Let me do a little bit more directly, like facing down here. I think that'll be better. Stop shaking. I mean, the black really just pops the money out. And the little gold nuggets. But again, this one's good. I ain't mad at you. I could easily make it, and frankly, this one looks better than this one because these glue splotches kind of kill this blank. That's very disappointing. I didn't really expect that to happen so severely. Usually you get a little, glue splotch here and there and, whatever. But, I mean, you got like an entire side of this blank just kind of looking not so great. So I don't think I would even make a pen out of this because I can't handle that glue splotch. But this has no major deficiencies like that are sticking out. Like I can see some like little glue splotch areas down at the tip there, but it's just not apparent. Like it doesn't stand out, and I can hide that with the clip and pretty much most of the rest of the pen. There is some glue splotching going on in here. But, holding this thing about a foot away from your face, you're not going to notice any of that stuff. Nobody's going to. This thing, these just really pop out at you, to me, in person. So I don't like that. But if you painted the inside of the blank black, it would all look just like this. Very, very nice. So let me see what you guys think about all this. But I don't feel like there's a problem sending these blanks out the way they are. I was worried that I might have to end up scrapping the blanks completely and going with something else, or who knows. Yeah, you could do a little black, but you're still, if you have like a separation, it's not going to be, it's going to be kind of apparent. I still think it's going to be different. I really think that you're better off, if you're going to do black, skip the tube. Don't go for a black tube or black epoxy or any of that kind of stuff. Just paint the inside of your blank, and maybe also go with a black one just in case there was like a little see-through. That's also one little random tip. If you want to be 100% sure that everything's going to look great, with a painted tube like in like something like this. What can happen sometimes is you paint the inside of the blank, and then when you're putting gluing the tube in, it can scrape away some of that paint sometimes. So a lot of times I'll back up. If I'm painting the inside of the blank black, I'll use a black tube just in case there's peel back or some area that I didn't get painted very well. But if you do that, I mean, it's going to look smooth and just glossy, that black. So I would recommend doing that personally. I think the black epoxy would have made this better for sure. But I think that the best, personally, my advice would just to paint the inside of the blank, and it's gonna look sick. In fact, I think I got a few extras. Some of these blanks that I'm not shipping out. So like, especially this is the thin one that I was like, oh man, I can't even barely get this stuff in. This end of the blank, which is, I don't know, which is the top, it's dense. So I've got a couple. I think I'm going to go for try and paint. I'm going to do one of those. But if somebody gets to it, if anybody in the Pen Blank Club gets to that first and can send me a picture or tag me on Instagram or Facebook, definitely let me see it. I'd love to see if my prediction is right on that one. So let's see here. Nice. Yeah, the lighter one, I guess, kind of looks a little bit more like money. Kind of. I don't know. I really like the black. Yeah, to be honest, I think it's just, I like the black and the green, but you have like this, like the sharp, like distinctions. If I was just to mix black and dark green, I would probably like it. I like those two colors together, but I like the little shreds where it's like a sharp edge, and then you'll have black right next to it. I really like that. So anyway, pretty cool. Let's assemble. I was like, okay, goodbye. Let's assemble this other one, the silver one, because that one, I really like that one a lot as well. Let's see here. Let's get a Sierra something. I think I'm going to just go with, that's a Virage. Oh, Virage. Let's go with the Virage. I like the Virage kits. Let me go get my tool to do this. All right, so if anybody hasn't seen the Virage kits, they're pretty cool. I'm just saying. You'll see it in a second. It's basically like a Sierra. There is a little bit of extra putting together of parts on these ones. Get out of my way. Okay. There. Put that there. Don't need that. I got to figure out. It's been a little while. It's pretty simple. But you do have to put some things together here. So that one goes together there. I don't need the tube. And then this one, pretty sure does like that. All right, so there's a bunch of parts in here. I'm going to show you all the different little parts. We have our transmission. That's most of you guys will know what that is. We got our ink thing. So these are inconsequential. You guys know what those are. This is the tube. We don't need one of those. And just for anybody that does it, it's a virage. Right? Virage. It's a pretty good one. All right, so first things first, and I'm going to assemble these the way that they're supposed to look. Yeah, okay. All right, so the way that these things go, you're going to press this guy into the nib. Be a little tricky sometimes. That's why I like vertical pressing. Let's see if I can. Usually not this hard. There we go. Once you get it, press that all the way in. Okay, and then this little piece, there's a little lip, a little indentation lip. That's going to that'll help you kind of guide into that. Oh, shoot. What's happening here? That'll help you kind of guide into this guy. So I pressed the longer brass tube into the nib. This guy, like I said, there's a little, if I was doing it this way, it doesn't want to fit into there. But there's a little kind of lip that'll help kind of align that little mini guy, and it's going to be pressed flush with that other brass tube that you just put in there. Okay, so now we got that ready, and this holds your, the ink, and that allows that. What that does is it allows your transmission to screw into this thing. Okay, so we got that part put together. Now, this part, what we're going to do here is we need a way to hold on the clip, but also be able to press this in. So this guy, the smaller diameter, is going to go in there, but we need to put our clip on there first. Okay, so hopefully that made some sense. This one's definitely easier to do vertically. I'm just going to be honest. And with this big ram thing, actually, this is not going to work so well. Okay, that might be a little better. I want to make sure that I got this. It's hard to hold, and there we go. We got it. So you have to pre-assemble a few things, but then once you got that ready, you're good to go. So let me look at this. Let me go grab my little glasses so I can see where I want to cover up. There's, like I said, there was a little bit of a glue splotch on one end of this guy. I think it's right there. Yeah. So there's some glue splotching happening right here. So I want to put the clip there. That'll just, it's not super apparent or visible, but I would rather just cover it up and then nobody even know. Okay. And then you just press this guy together. And we got a pretty nice looking pen right there. I'm digging this. This is a pretty cool looking pen. Yeah, this camera's working a lot better now that, so one of the reasons that this camera's so much sharper and better, that was, so the other camera was actually set up on a real HDMI like 1080. This one was one of the ones that was plugged into a USB 2 port, so it wasn't like operating correctly. This is much clearer. Sweet. So pretty happy with it. I'm pretty happy with that. So the Pen Blank Club blanks are going to be going out next week. I want to say that what day is this? This is the 14th. Yeah. So if anybody wants to get in on the Pen Blank Club and want to get, so this month there's shredded money blanks and the beach kitless length blanks. And again, it's, you know, it's minimum 6-month thing, and it's a monthly subscription model. So just, you know, it's not like you can just sign up for 1 month, but these are the ones that are in it this month. You'd pretty much have to like sign up today if you want to get in and start doing the subscription thing. But you still could get in if you want to grab some of these things. And I'm just mentioning it with what's going on, because if you sign up like on the 17th, then you're going to have to wait until next month's blanks, you know. So anyway, Pen Blank Club is up and going. Yeah, I would definitely use a pen that looks like that. I think I will use that one. I don't know. So let's see here. Is there any other? Yeah, sorry, I was messing around with my cameras, and well, it's hard to get. I can't really put the camera dead directly over because the lights, it'll mess things up. It doesn't work. But when I'm trying to do something like that, it also doesn't work so well. So I want to just zoom. Oh, actually, okay, yeah. It needs to be like right there. That's pretty good. Okay. Sorry. Tweaking the stream while we're doing it live. Anyway, guys, I hope you had an enjoyable time on the stream today. Hopefully, I'll probably be making little minor tweaks and little things. There's a lot of other functionality there's a lot of functionality that OBS could have, you know, I could have done different stuff with. But I wasn't sure how like the plugins worked, and it's just not as simple as this one. So there's a couple little fun things that we can do. That I might start including. I need to kind of look into it. Again, I can hook up my iPhone wirelessly, so I can just take it and do whatever, and it's probably going to even be, you know, this camera, that overhead view, I don't want to disconnect it because it's like set up perfectly. The other one's not so great, so the iPhone would be a better one to take and be able to kind of take around. I'm going to be kind of tweaking the microphones. I may get a lavalier mic and see how that works. So there may be a little bit of adjusting, and I'd love, you know, any feedback from anybody. If there's something that you're like, this didn't work, this kind of sucks, or this is great, you know, whatever kind of feedback you have, definitely appreciate that. And then, is there anything else with streaming and any of that kind of stuff? I don't think so. So next week we'll be back in action. We'll be coming up with something new. I got a list of things that I think would be fun to try out. We'll make some new blanks, and it should be pretty cool. So anyway, guys, let's see here. Any other questions or anything before we get wrapped up? Well worth getting up early on a lazy Sunday morning. Nice. Well, this is Saturday, isn't it? I think it's Saturday. Yeah, I'm really happy that the new computer's working out. There were a lot of things that I was like, I'm not even sure if I can hook up 3 cameras the way that I'm trying to hook these things up. Everything's working really, really great. And if anybody needs a pretty cheap computer, maybe that already has like keyboards and stuff and monitors, but so far I'm pretty happy with this little Mac Mini. I mean, here's a crazy little statistic. I literally had a computer built for streaming for me, right? That's what I had before. Now there were some issues with it, but it was supposed to be pretty good. This whole stream, my computer, the CPU usage, and I've got a couple different windows open. I could probably open lots of other things, but I'm only using like 7 or 8% computer, like CPU. Pretty much the other one would have been jammed at like 30 to 40%, not doing anything. I could have closed a bunch of windows and different stuff. So Mac Mini, not bad. And actually Best Buy has them for $100 off right now. I bought that thing. It was only $4.99. It's if you're into Apple stuff. And that's what I use. So if anybody's looking for an Apple computer like that, I mean, I just bought the cheapest, least amount of hard drive. $4.99, pretty cheap. So I'd recommend it so far anyway. So yeah, Mac Minis and I bought a Studio. That's what I was going to replace that thing with, but that was like $2,000 or something like that. And I bought it a couple of years ago and just never, I just, procrastinated setting it up because I'm like, well, the other one works and I don't have to mess with anything. At this point though, I really like having the Studio in a different office, and frankly I'd rather have a $500 computer in a wood shop than a $2,000 computer. So I was like, I'll just get a Mini and see, and like cross my fingers, hope it works. Worst case scenario, I can swap them and run the Studio out here and the Mini in there, because I like having like a different place that I can like an office setup kind of thing. But yeah, so for $4.99, I mean it's doing everything that my Studio does for me. So that, anyway, your Apple and Linux, yeah. And the other one was Windows, and it worked fine. I mean, there was nothing wrong with the Windows machine that I was using before. Some components obviously were giving out, so I had to, change things up. But yeah, and so I think for streaming and all that kind of stuff, and so far, I'm using, again, Prism Live Studio. I mean, it's totally free. There's no monthly thing. There's no upfront cost. It is dead free. And it's got all the stuff that you ever wanted. It's pretty much the same thing as OBS. I would say it's maybe a little bit simpler setup and all that kind of stuff. OBS gets a little bit overwhelming, kind of. But for the most part, it's like the same settings and menus and everything like that. So Prism Live Studio, pretty decent piece of software. OBS works good too. Streamlabs OBS works fine. Ecamm Live, and I'm just, if anybody is even thinking about streaming, Ecamm Live is good, but you got to pay for that. StreamYard's a great service, but and I think that if you were going to have multiple people on, like the way they do the Saturday morning cartoons or the Creative Makers podcast, that's what they use as StreamYard. That is excellent for having lots of guests. However, I'm pretty sure that I could actually have guests using this software. I just don't know exactly how it all works. So anyway, I don't know. There's lots of cool stuff, and so I'm pretty happy everything's working without any problems. So anyway, guys, thanks for joining the fun tonight. Again, any feedback on the streaming setup, software, noise, cameras, whatever, any of that stuff, let me know down in the comments. And hopefully I'll see you guys all next week. So have a great night and enjoy the weekend. Get some resin casting done, some turning. And again, for anybody that's in the Pendulite Club, definitely shoot me a picture or tag me if you guys do the painting the inside of the blank black. I definitely want to see that. So anyway, guys, have a great night. Thanks for joining the fun, and I'll see you guys on the next stream.